Looks like they had a battle with time. And lost.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional TNG Podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds, Dory is a Star Trek novice, and we're going on a journey together through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 2 episode, Unnatural Selection. Original air date, January 28th, 1989. So we'll go to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so the team is heading to Star Station India to rendezvous with a medical courier. And Picard is like, hey, Troy, what do you think of Dr. P? And they basically like, oh, yeah, she's like great at her job. Yeah. So I think they kind of, to me, I was like, rude, because they're like, oh, she's the most... Not the best. I can't remember what the actual term they used, but like, oh, she's the most devoted doctor. I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me? Did we not have Dr. Crusher? She wasn't dedicated enough? What's your scale for deciding who's better and who's not better? That's the scale. Better, not better.
I feel like this is a, what do you call? They're trying to like redeem her character.
I mean, I didn't dislike her in this episode, so like my opinion of her has gotten a little bit higher, I guess. Okay, so there's like another distress signal, whatever, coming from the USS Lantry, which is a supply ship. So they're like, all right, let's like go over there. Oh my God, by the way, Wesley says parsecs, and I was like, isn't that the thing that people always talk about, like from Han Solo in the Kessel Run?
He actually says milliparsecs.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever. I just was like, wait a minute. Because I thought that was like a Star Wars specific thing. I guess not.
No, it's a sci-fi thing.
No, it's a science thing. The issue people have with it is that...
Oh, I think it's like distance versus time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Han Solo uses it as like a measure of time, but it's a measure of distance.
Cool. Actually, you know what's funny? Speaking of that, this is a really small sidetrack, but apparently, like I saw a TikTok a couple weeks ago where it was like, it's a very Ontario thing, is asking people how far you are from somewhere. Like, where are you? Like how far is like Ottawa from Toronto? And instead of distance, people from here will say like, 4 hours, which is like, that's not what they're asking, but that's what we say, is we say the time versus the distance.
I didn't realize that was a thing not everyone does. When you ask how far away it is, it's like, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah, apparently, like, according to this, I'd never heard about this before. I never even thought about it. But in this particular TikTok, they're like, you're like this. It's an Ontario thing, apparently.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine they do it elsewhere, but like, I don't think I've ever gotten like an actual measurement of distance whenever I've asked how far something is here. I always get like, oh, it'll take this many minutes, hours, or whatever. And I never thought about that. But yeah. Fun fact, I guess.
Which, frankly, to me, is the more useful information.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back to the Lantry. So, like, they do some tech stuff to, like, access the Lantry's, systems and whatever. And they see there's, like, people on the bridge, and they're, like, old and dead. So they're like, uh-oh, what's wrong? What's going on? And they check, like, where they've been. And they had been to the Darwin Genetic Research Station 3 days prior. Uh-oh. But then prior to arriving to the station, the only, like, sickness, whatever, that was, like, red flagged was the first officer had, like, Thalasian flu. I can't remember how to pronounce it.
I think it was Thalasian flu.
Sci-fi
flu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, like, not really that dangerous, but is it? We'll see. We do see. So they're like, oh no, everybody's like old and dead, so like let's quarantine this ship, and then like let's go to the Darwin station to be like, hey gang, we just want to follow up, you guys doing okay? And then we meet Dr. Kingsley, who is somebody who works at the Darwin station, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm like look way older, but I'm actually 35. So like we're all getting older here, and it's the rapid onset of geriatric phenomena. The first symptom is acute arthritic inflammation, and then aging process accelerates. So like everybody is just like getting old. But then like Dr. Kingsley is like, we've got children, you should take the children, they're fine. And everybody like Dr. P's like like, how do you know that? Like, we're not entirely sure. And Dr. Kingsley is like, no, we're sure. Like, take the children. And so they're like, agreed. Okay, we'll like take one of the kids on board to like examine in like I can't remember what the term was that they used, but it's like this clear.
It's called styrolite.
Styrolite, yes. So they're like protected and whatnot.
They're basically encased in like clear foam.
Yeah. And so they bring over this full out man. Like, that's not a child. Like, that's a full out man.
Yep.
And they keep calling them children. Every time they show these quote unquote children, they're like full out adults. And so every time I saw them, I was like, okay, are they actually affected for this aging disease? Because none of them look like children. They look like full grown people.
Well, we find out they're like genetically altered. So they're chronologically, that guy is 12 years old.
Yeah, but that's also a really weird thing to like this whole thing. I don't like genetic. I mean, I find genetics really interesting, but when people start playing around with that shit, that's like red flag city to me. That makes me nervous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they bring the kid aboard. Oh yeah, he's like telepathic. So like there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with him.
He also kind of acts like a cat.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He just like sits up really quickly, and she's like, "Oh, okay."
This is before. That's not till later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so then like Dr. P wants to check him out more thoroughly, so her and Data take a shuttlecraft, and she like releases him, and they have like a really weird telepathic moment, but it's just him staring, but sure. Also, I tried to find it in my notes, but in a earlier episode this season, didn't Dr. P pronounce like data?
Yeah.
At one point?
At one point.
And then in this episode, she says data when she's talking about like she's got a line.
Yeah, because he corrected her in that episode.
Yeah. Well, no, not about calling him by his name, but like literally the word, like referring to like information.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
So she like, haha. So I was like, look at that. That's very minimal progress, but you know what? I'll take it.
Well, yeah, one is his name and the other one is not.
Yeah, but now she's using data as both.
Mm-hmm.
As I do now. Thanks a lot, show. So yeah, she's in the shuttle, and then like all of a sudden she gets like a terrible pain in her arm, and then she starts to get old, and she like goes down to the planet, and Dr. Kingsley is like, look at these like genetically created children with powers, and they play chess with their minds. I'm like, ugh, this is so creepy. And how do we fix it all? Oh yeah, so like turns out that flu was like, there's like antibodies, and like though the kids are like programmed to destroy disease because their immune systems are so good, they like reacted weird to this and have got everybody else sick instead. Like, I don't care. Sorry.
Yeah.
This was so convoluted, and just I was like, genetic stuff, I don't know, it like engineering children like this, like they're like, I don't know, some stuff like, you know, like stem cell research, that's one thing. But this just is like weird. You're customizing children, and that's that's gross to me. Oh yeah, so like Picard's like, why are you getting so old so quickly? And also like she's in her 50s, so of course she'd be like getting old at a different, like she's already older. The Kingsley was 35.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so basically they're like, oh, how do we like get her back and reverse it? Oh, we're gonna like take a hair from her hairbrush and like put something with a transporter and get her DNA and transport it out of her. I don't know. And then
it was a dumb
so she
resolution.
comes back and they're fine, and then they blow up the Lantry and like fly away, and I just was like, I just don't care.
That makes two of us, man.
Oh, I don't care. It just was. I zoned out during this episode. It was so.
Oh.
I think I like what's her face a little bit better, but I just didn't. I didn't care. This episode was so boring.
I actually quite like this episode.
Really?
Yeah, I've always liked this episode.
I was similarly bored by it.
Oh.
Like, I don't think it's bad. I just could not pay attention.
Yeah,
I
same.
just was not interesting.
I think what it came down to is all of the problems that are in the... Like, this is a very plot-focused episode. All of the problems that come up that are, like, personal issues. So, like, the growth development, quote-unquote, of the Doctor. She doesn't really get, like, a growth development moment in it. She is exactly the same person from the beginning to the end. And they try to set aside that thing with her and Picard being an issue, which I think in the conference room scene... No, not the conference room. Sorry, the ready room scene that they have, it works really well. But the setup for it is that weird discussion in the hallway with Troy where she's staring forward the entire time. And it turns out the reason that she was doing that was because she couldn't get her lines right at all, so she was reading off of cue cards. And so she just doesn't look at Troy at any point in the scene until the end.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, that's so fucking weird. Why isn't she... She doesn't look at Troy at all.
Yep, cue cards.
But here's the thing. I don't give a shit about the Pulaski aspect of it. I don't know. I like the plot of the episode.
Okay, that's fine.
I like, them figuring out the puzzle, basically.
I think the main problem that I end up having, besides that it's a Pulaski episode and I don't really like Pulaski, is they don't give you many other reasons to really care about the people going on, I find, so I don't really have much of an emotional connection to it. Because, you only really talk to one person down in the research facility, and she's, quite frankly, not likable.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, Kingsley could have really put everybody in danger on the ship. Because she's like, take the children, they're fine. Take the children, take the children, take the children. It's like, no, they weren't fine. They're the ones that are doing this.
Yeah, and supposedly she's a researcher, so she should know this kind of stuff, but,
Yeah, she could have gotten everybody killed on the Enterprise because, like, she thought she knew everything.
There was supposed to be something that they pulled out of the episode, actually. There was supposed to be this, like, quote-unquote, like, hyper-attractive woman named Rena who would be assisting them with all the transporter stuff. And supposedly she was supposed to be, like, so attractive that she was distracting, and it was going to be, like, the comic relief of the episode, in an episode where comic relief would have been a bad idea.
Yeah.
That would have been a horrible idea.
Yes. So they decided to switch that out in the writing process with O'Brien instead, because he was a character that they had a couple of times before. And fun fact, this is the first time that O'Brien is referred to as the transporter chief.
He also got to be at a meeting.
He did. You'll see him infrequently as time goes on, and then he becomes a regular in a sequel series. So, yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm finding out that I don't really need to care about anyone in order to, like, find the story interesting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I truly don't care about anyone in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stuff they add with, like, Picard and Pulaski and that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting flavor. But I'm more into, like, I enjoy watching them, like, solve the problem.
Right. I did find it a little weird when they're establishing the problem in the first place, because they show us the shot where everyone's, like, dead of old age on the other ship, but they don't tell you in that moment what's wrong. They just keep giving you close-ups, and you see all the what do you call it, the, like, mole growths on that guy's face, or all the skin tags or whatnot. And you're like, oh my god, what happened to him? And then when Riker finally brings up in the ready room, or not, in the conference room, that the guy is his age, I was just like, see, I already knew that because I know the plot of this episode, but you guys haven't mentioned it yet. Like, you didn't mention why everyone looking like that was weird.
Initially I was like, so they're like, you can't have, like, an older captain? What's the problem?
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly can't remember the first time I saw this episode, so I can't say if that confused me. But to me, it is weird that the entire bridge crew is old.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That is a little strange, but keeping in mind that we're watching this in HD, and people didn't have that kind of thing way back in the day, because HD was not a thing on standard televisions. And until you get to the close-up, and you only get a close-up, really, of one character on the bridge, and that's the captain.
The HD didn't do Dr. P any favors with that. Like later, it looked like her
not at
face
all.
was melting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not great.
I think I've said this before, but Star Trek thinks that aging equals your face melting.
Yes. Yes,
Their
quite
old
accurate.
age makeup is just notoriously terrible.
There are episodes that have done old age makeup that work, but obviously early TNG, we haven't seen any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it makes me think of Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, apparently
Poor
that was
hot Mark.
that was the reason that they tried to do the old age makeup a little bit differently in this episode, because Michael Westmore was very disappointed with their work in that one. And I'm just like, yeah, you didn't nail it this time either. It looks a little better, but not really.
At least they started with actors that were older to begin with.
Yes.
And then built off of that. Instead of trying to make, like, super young people look old.
Supposedly they were going to show us a young Dr. Kingsley, but they decided to cut that out of the episode for some reason. And she was going to be some,
you
like...
don't really need it.
No, you don't. But supposedly the reason they cut it out was just budget. And it was going to be one of those, like, oh, and she's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just like, how much of a hand did Gene Roddenberry have in this where, like, every fucking character that they cut out was, like, someone that was absolutely gorgeous, supposedly?
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't.
I thought the element of, like, they're trying to get across the element of, like, you know, hubris in this episode. I found like a neat, I guess, moral to the story. Because, like, you know, the scientists on Darwin Station, they think, like, they developed, like, these perfect humans, but they're actually, like, super dangerous to unmodified humans. And then Dr. Pulaski, she just, like, is overconfident in herself.
Right.
Which, by the way, Dory, your prediction was, like, kind of right.
Oh, yeah, because she gets it, too.
Yeah. She didn't have the aspect of, like, oh, you're dumb for getting hurt by this thing, but she's like, no, it's fine, and then she just gets it herself.
Yeah, she takes on the risk of exposing herself to this person and then gets it. Haha. Also, I'm gonna have to make, like, some kind of spreadsheet or list of every episode where there's virus shit in it, because there's too many. I've said this so many times because there's so many. I'm going to make a comprehensive list of all the virus episodes, because this is too much.
That's not how it is going forward. Luckily, you'll see less of them in the future, but yeah, they've done a lot.
Unfortunately, because of the times, we're, like, really noticing it.
Yes, very
and
true.
most people have, like, a week between episodes,
right,
and we're, like, blasting through them.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot.
I do think that going through the genetic manipulation plotline in TNG like this, though, wasn't a bad idea. It's just that TOS's genetic manipulation is dangerous episode was better.
Yeah.
I think I just get sensitive. It's eugenics, right?
Yeah.
So that just makes me uncomfortable and angry. So, like,
yeah. Yeah. I just thought of this. Isn't genetically modifying humans illegal in the Federation?
Yeah, that hasn't been established yet. Yeah, it is in canon going forward, but at this point the writing room doesn't have the message. They haven't come up with it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason. I assume they just kind of retcon things like this, and they're like, yeah, it didn't happen, don't worry about it. Which, I mean, it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. That's how writing when a complex series goes.
Yeah. But yeah, like Dory, eugenics is, uncomfortable and not cool.
Oh, you're gonna get to some real interesting eugenic stuff in future series, but not here.
Because I'm all well and good for, treating genetic diseases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you start to get into a gray area when it's like, you establish what needs curing.
Yes.
Yes. Like there's a right and a wrong of traits, and that's bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not it just made me think of, do you remember the I can't remember what the episode is called, but it's they go to that planet where everyone is really like Aryan looking.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Like-
Justice.
Oh yeah. That, I don't know. This just like this is the eugenics and just Aryan. It just made me think of that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I was going to say, even Picard says, like, because Dr. Pulaski is like, oh, we could be looking at the future of humanity. And then
Oh.
Picard goes like, well, at least Dr. Kingsley's version of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he doesn't seem too, like, impressed either.
No.
Yeah. Plus, like, I don't really want telepathy. I don't think that's like. When is that handy?
It's
when
not.
When does that come?
I can live without it.
Telekinesis? Yeah, okay, can like move shit. You know what I want? Give me freaking teleportation.
Yes.
That's a little harder. Calm down, Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Dr. Kingsley. Where's the teleportation? I wouldn't have to pay for the subway. I wouldn't have to pay for transit ever again. Telepathy. When is that handy? What are they gonna do with these kids? Like, I mean, the kids are now in isolation, but like, what a bummer.
Yeah.
They just have to deal with each other in like a small space.
In the writer's defense, that was kind of a fad of science fiction and like looking to the human future at the time for some reason, and I'm not really sure why. Films like Ghostbusters make fun of the fact that was part of pop culture at the time, at the beginning of the film. So that's just kind of what it was. And you see it in a lot of other early 90s sci-fi media, especially things like The Outer Limits and whatnot, or The X-Files.
Yeah, it was kind of like considered that telepathy was like the next advancement of the human brain, you know?
I don't want people here. Nobody would want to hear my thoughts. I
Yeah.
promise you. It's there's
Sexy.
like 3 brain cells and they're not having a great time.
I would like to take props away from the writers for their decision on how to fix the problem at the end of the episode, because, oof, transporter reset button, that's dangerous. You can
yeah.
solve so many issues with that.
Yeah, and they do.
They do, but, like, they could have done way, way worse. Like, you could bring people back from the dead the way that they used it.
Yeah.
What? Where's Yar? No, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, just get some of Yar's
yeah.
hair and bring her back when she's alive. There you go.
Yeah, they kind of just ignore that, like, you have people patterns, like, in the transporter, so technically you could just clone them that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, clones.
Attack of the Clones.
I guess I do enjoy watching this episode. Like, for me, it's just like, it's an easy watch. It's like, just put it on and watch it. It's fine.
That's fair.
But I do see that there are quite a few missed opportunities
Oh, definitely.
in
Definitely.
this. Like, going more into the talking about the genetic modification thing, going more into, Dr. Pulaski being overconfident
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they don't even make her look any kind of way, because they first are like, oh yeah, no, she's great at her job, she's the most dedicated, whatever. And then when Picard speaks to her old captain, he's like, oh no, she's great. She just like is like a fangirl of yours and really wanted to work with you.
Yeah.
Like we didn't let her go. She put in for a transfer. So like he says that she's stubborn, but like we've already seen that, and so like no new information about Dr. P is really like explained.
Yeah.
And I still like, I guess also like I mentioned it earlier, part of why I think I found this kind of boring was like maybe I liked her a little bit better in this, but like I still don't like her.
Yeah.
If it was like Troy or Data or Geordi, like if this was if some one of them were sick, I would be like, oh my God, everybody drop everything and save them now. What can I do?
I noticed that with the dialogue that they gave her and Troy, they're trying to make her seem more familiar with them, but
Yeah.
that's not how her portrayal comes off at all. Like, she doesn't really seem like she's a friend.
She's
with
not a
these
warm
people.
person.
No, not at all.
I think
Yeah.
to me, it comes off as like they realized they made a mistake with how they characterized Dr. Pulaski, and they're trying to rehab her character in this episode. But for me, it's like a little too late, you know?
It also doesn't feel like they have the same like chemistry. Like
Yeah.
Beverly and
there is
Troy,
no chemistry.
you got a sense they've like bonded and they've had like personal conversations. And it just felt way more natural. I suppose we also were with Beverly for a lot longer.
Yeah.
True.
But now with this, it just, we don't see them interacting very much. And now it just sort of feels forced. And it's like, let's have the ladies be friends. But they're not. And they, like, all women don't have to be friends. You don't have to force a friendship just because it's two women. I would love to have female friendships on the show. But, like, to me, like, Pulaski always just seems sort of like standoffish and just very clinical.
Yes.
Not standoffish,
very
more
true.
clinical. Whereas Troy is so warm. And she's, not to like boil it down to like emotions, but that's her shtick, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's two very diametric, vastly different people that they're trying to force, who just like, they don't have chemistry together as like actors. And then it just doesn't make sense. And we haven't seen, we're just told, they've like hung out. Like when? What the hell would they do when they hang out? What would they talk about?
And it feels so forced when Troy calls her Kate.
Yes,
you know,
it does.
instead of Dr. Pulaski and stuff. And like, yeah, you're right. It's just their personalities don't seem to mesh well to believe that they're like friends, or that Dr. Pulaski would go to her for advice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially since Jeff pointed out, like, and this is like an unfortunate thing about just what happened with the actress on the scene, but like they're walking down the hallway and she's just staring forward the entire time and doesn't take even one sideways glance at Troy. And it's like, wow, this I know it's because the actress like couldn't remember her lines and stuff, and it's like that wasn't really on purpose for her character.
No, but it does go with her character already, so
yeah, it's just an unfortunate consequence. Like, you seem even more disconnected from everybody.
You know what's sad? I can think of a moment, a single exchange of dialogue in this episode that does more to make us believe in the relationship between two characters than that entire scene did. And that is when Data gets beamed off the shuttle and Picard goes up to him, starts asking him a question, interrupts himself, and says, "It's good to see you again, Data."
Yeah.
And then Data's like, "Thank you,
that was
sir."
cute.
And like, that is a true moment of like, you are seeing the friendship between these characters in ways that fit their characters already. And we haven't seen any moment like that with Pulaski at this point in time, because the ways in which she is friendly are kind of sarcastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the Holmes episode a few episodes back.
It's all about her mocking
She was
them.
like, she's making fun of Data and Geordi, and she goes along with the adventure, and it's still so misplaced. Like, she doesn't feel part of the group, and they're like, want to integrate her, but are doing a bad job. And then from the start, she was like pretty terrible to Data.
Yep.
So like, and Data is such like, how do you be mean to him?
Yeah.
And it's so like, if you want to fit in with this group, stop treating them shitty.
Yeah, they made a major mistake with having her try to be adversarial with Data.
Yes.
And because I imagine that, because Jeff, you said that they were trying to go for like a Dr. McCoy kind of deal.
Exactly, yeah.
But the thing is with Dr. McCoy and Spock is Spock gave just as much as he took.
Yes, he did. Whereas Data doesn't do that to anyone.
Yeah, like that's not in Data's character to like, you know, make jabs back and stuff. So now it just looks like she's bullying him. Mm-hmm. Which is what she's doing. Yeah. And it's like, you're also like, you should have had more awareness that like people are not going to take well to someone basically bullying Data, who's like
a fan favorite.
Yeah, essentially the one of the only redeemable things about season 1
yes.
was Data. Because they kind of got Data I feel like they got Data right almost right away.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There was a couple awkward parts here and there, but for the most part, he was solid right away. Yeah, I feel like if they were gonna have her be like cold, clinical, and a little sarcastic and standoffish, they really should have paired her with someone different. Like, if they hadn't chose to make her adversarial with Data, I could see her getting along really well with Data and having like a friendship with him, or like possibly having a friendship with Worf. Like if they're like both like, you know, maybe a little too serious for their own good and stuff like that. And that would make her more part of the crew, because she still feels very separate. And that's my take on it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't disagree at all. So, would you guys like to hear a fun bit of trivia regarding the background of this episode?
Yeah.
No.
So, you don't get to see the children that much. Their outfits were actually very hastily put together, because originally they were all supposed to be nude.
They're children. I don't like that.
And the only reason that they weren't all nude was because the props department had brought in all of these transparent pieces of furniture, and they were just like, oh no, we can't hide their special parts behind this furniture. Okay, shit, they need outfits now.
Oh, no.
I guess props didn't get the message, or whoever ordered.
I think that it was just a lack of communication between the two departments on what was going on. And to be fair, that's like a really unique problem.
Yeah. Like what's the logic of them being nude?
I don't know. They're superhuman and don't care about privacy between each other anymore because they all have telepathy.
I guess.
But that I don't like that.
But what about the researchers?
What about the researchers? They're allowed to see penises and vaginas and boobs.
What about butts?
Yeah, but wouldn't the researchers be like, here's some clothes to put on?
I mean, yeah, but those are just cultural standards, man. You gotta fight the system.
But what about the fact that they're children?
Yeah.
If they're 12 years old, I don't care if they're like adult body style. That's still a child.
I mean, they're not looking at them sexually. They created these kids.
It doesn't matter. I think that's freaking weird.
It is weird. I agree with that.
Well, then we're in agreement. It's weird.
Okay. Yeah.
There's something really funny though of the idea of like a bunch of naked people sitting on like see-through furniture.
Ew.
Just like the angles would be so upsetting.
But also like so I've watched like documentaries about like nudist colonies, right? And like in a lot of them their rule is always have a towel, because you don't just sit down butt naked on stuff.
Oh yeah. There's what they call in like corgis splooting, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's upset. Yeah, that's a good call. Bring towels. Not sure these like genius ideal children bringing towels with them. Actually, they might. They're like.
But just imagine sitting like bare-assed on a clear plastic chair. And then
it's just
someone
awful.
else sitting down on it after.
Yo, playing musical chairs.
Yeah, gross. That's just sanitarily like not
it's
a
so
great
gross.
idea. Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm happy they put them in clothes.
Yeah.
But just like also the image though of like a bunch of randos playing like chess naked though.
Yeah.
With their mind. That's so weird.
Not just chess, 3D chess.
Oh, that's true. My bad. Wow, that is a fun fact I was not prepared for.
Yeah. I would argue that the props department made a good call and making them change that, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Keep the children in clothes, please.
Yes.
One thing I will say, like, it does, now that we're just, like, discussing it, I didn't think about this while we were watching it, but now we're discussing it. I kind of would have liked to kind of hear from the kids
Yeah.
on, like, how they feel about, because, like, even the one guy was he didn't have any lines.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't, like,
That's true. He had his weird cat stare.
yeah, he just, like, stares, and she's like, I hear you, and everybody's like, what? Even Data's like, what's happening now? And we have no idea what he was saying to her, so we had no idea, like, how these kids, like, are they, like, they've got to be aware in some capacity that they've been genetically, like, she says created, so, like, genetically created to be in this way. They must have some kind of feelings about this, unless in part of this creation they didn't put feelings. I don't know. Emotions destroy everybody. No, I
Yeah.
don't know. But I think that would have been kind of an interesting perspective to get, like, what the kids feel about this.
No, they're just a plot device. They don't have feelings.
Yeah, it's true. We don't ever get to hear from them.
Nope, not one bit.
We don't know how they feel. We don't know how they feel about their lives there. Like, and that now they're doomed to live in isolation because they're too dangerous to be around other people. Although we don't know how they affect aliens, though. We know how they affect humans.
That's true.
I mean, I don't think we want to find, I mean, to find that out would be questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they set up, there's some interesting stuff, but it's so, I don't know. I don't like genetic stuff like this, but I think, like, though, if you introduce, like, these characters, I would have liked to know more about them, I guess. Instead, we just have so much of Dr. Kingsley just being, like, terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I just thought of something.
What's that?
So, like, they were able to, like, reverse the stuff for Dr. P. Are they able to reverse the stuff for everybody else on the Darwin station? Because then, if not, then... Oh, they did?
Yeah.
They mentioned
Okay,
it.
then
They just did it off screen.
Okay, because I didn't pay attention for part of this episode. Because I was just thinking, like, what if they all, like, they didn't, and they all just die, and, like, these kids are now stuck there? How are they supposed to take care of themselves? It's not like they can, like, Uber Eats or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so they saved them.
Yeah,
All right,
they said at the end that they're going to stay on the station, and I guess they're just going to be, like, separated from the kids, and they're going to try to figure out a way
To reunite everyone somehow.
yeah, to be able to reunite.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you made this mess, now you get to lie in it.
Like I said, I enjoyed this episode, but I do admit there isn't a whole lot to it. I can see that previously, like, I didn't really understand why people don't like this episode, but I think I see it now. I see how, like, there's really not a lot for you to latch onto. You don't really care about the people involved, and the solution to the problem is kind of
Weak.
trite. Yeah.
Yeah, trite is actually a much better word for it. I agree with that.
So I guess we should, I don't know if we do, but does anyone have any
Yes.
favorite parts or lines?
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
I would like to give special note to the wonderful scene with O'Brien and Data, where they are talking about how to solve the problem with the transporter, and Picard basically just tells them to shut up. Because, like, okay, I don't care, will it work?
Yeah. I do enjoy, like, I feel like that's one of the first, like, really deep technobabble scenes we've gotten.
I think you're right, yeah. It's also the first, like, O'Brien has a personality more than, like, 2 lines scene, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true. It's
You get
one
to
of
know
the,
O'Brien as a dork.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first episode that, like, establishes him more as a character that's there and not just some guy.
Yeah, it gives him a little bit of personality, which is real nice. Because
Yeah.
I'm excited to learn more about O'Brien as time goes on, because he's our Hard-working Irishman.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we did learn one tiny thing about Dr. P. She wrote a book called Linear Models of Viral Propagation,
Yep.
and it's old. She wrote it a while ago.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I would never read that book.
Yeah, it lost me real quick. Even in that part when Dr. Kingsley was naming it, she like lost me partway through. I had to like go back and watch that part again so I could write it down.
I think they're just trying really hard to rehabilitate Pulaski's character in this episode.
Yeah.
That's what it came off as to me.
Well, we still have another 2/3 of the season left. Maybe they will.
Mm-hmm. We shall see.
There's one line that I did like, I guess. Nah. It was Picard. He goes, and Doctor, God knows I'm not one to discourage input, but I would appreciate it if you let me finish my sentence once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
That was
I
a
like
good
that.
line.
Yeah, that was.
I like
But
that
other
too.
that was like it. It's not even my favorite part. It just was like a line that was lols.
Picard's personality has been coming off really well as this like kind of crotchety guy who's still like he is in tune with everyone and he is extremely competent, but he just doesn't have patience for your crap.
Yeah.
And I like that they've been leaning into that.
Although I disagree with Troy because Pulaski goes to Troy and is like, I'm having difficulty dealing with the captain. And she like laughs and says like, basically says like, oh, you two are really alike. And
Yeah,
what's
no,
her
they're not.
line? Yeah, what's her line? It's like, let's just say you both have well-established personalities.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think Dr. Pulaski and Picard are anything alike.
No. No,
Like-
I mean, I think she's trying to say, oh, well, you're both kind of like big-headed when it comes to your decisions, but that's absolutely not true about Picard, so I don't know
Yeah,
what
he's-
that's about.
He's super not.
No.
Yeah, and he's not like... Picard does not come off as arrogant or like he definitely comes off as like confident and that he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't seem like overly sure of himself, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
I vehemently disagree with that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my favorite part was the part you mentioned, Jeff, where Data comes back to the ship and Picard's like like stops himself to say like, it's good to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, it was very cute, and I really appreciated that moment. All right, so shall we get into a prediction?
Yeah, let's do it.
Uh-huh.
I think you'll enjoy this episode, Dory, if I remember correctly.
Yay.
The episode is called A Matter of Honor,
Okay.
and it's a Riker-focused episode.
Oh, okay. That's nice. I was thinking, I was like, I almost miss Riker. We haven't like
Yeah.
had him do an episode or anything of note lately.
So,
Okay, yay, a Riker episode.
yeah, so your little clue is that Riker gets to know some Klingons while being an exchange student.
Ooh. Oh, okay. That sounds fun. Okay. Oh God. Okay. Wondering how literal I should go with my prediction in terms of like exchange student.
As literal as you want.
Ooh. Okay. I'm trying to like narrow down on an idea because go a lot of ways. Okay. So I wouldn't think they would like send Riker to the Klingon planet. Is that Kling? Is that what it's called? or
Kronos.
something?
They haven't actually established the name in the series yet, but it is Kronos.
Oh, Kronos. Okay.
Yeah.
Kronos. Okay. Okay, so maybe surface level, I just assume that he like meets like a lady Klingon.
Well, then assume it. Go for it.
Yeah.
I assume that he finds like a lady pal on, because I mean, just from what I've learned about Riker is that he is always down to clown.
He is always down to cling on.
Okay. So maybe, I'm going to do this a little bit sidetrack. Okay, so maybe there's some kind of like, not lessons, but some kind of like specific program that's down on a planet and like different groups from all over go and they get like a bunch of Klingons are part of this course or whatever, and Riker's gonna do it, and then he becomes, let's say, study pals with a lady Klingon.
Oh yeah.
And learns some stuff from her that like he wouldn't have necessarily learned in the course. Yeah, it's just I decide I'm gonna commit to like an out there, not out there, but just, yeah, so maybe, I don't know. I just think he fucks a Klingon.
That's fair.
All I can think of is that moment on the bridge. Worf, is this your idea of sex? This is sex.
Yeah, so I think, he does some kind of course on a planet where, like, different aliens are, like, everybody can go and do this, or maybe it's some kind of, like, fighting, I don't know, but then the, like, woman Klingon is like, we have some other Klingon fighting skills that I'll teach you in private, lols, and, yeah.
And she meant she was going to fight his penis.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with that. Yeah, Riker's gonna fuck a Klingon.
That sounds like a good
Nice.
episode. I hope that's what we're about to watch.
Well, if you want to see if Riker fucks a Klingon, watch along with us and join us next time for Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.